Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of On the Delo. This is episode 167. So we're approaching 200. I want to say thank you for everybody for listening. I appreciate it. I love talking to people. I love interviewing people. Last episode we just had, the last one that you probably, if you listen to this regularly, was the hair loss one. That was fun. I think getting more and more vulnerable as I get older and not really caring less about what people think about certain things, and just being honest and doing things that I can say and do to help people out is making a huge difference in my life right now. I know that, like, we talked about it on this podcast, and I talk about it, a lot of you know me. Turning 50 was, one of those years of, and I think for everybody that's turned 50, or if you're turning, one of those, let's just say big, celebratory years, transition years, as we call them, seasons of life, I know that this can be something that we all go through individually, depending on the time and the place and where and what happens. And for me, 50 now is gone, and at 51, I feel myself really getting in the groove of who I am. It only took 50 years, but it takes a lot to learn and to figure a lot of things out over time. And that's why I concentrate so much on my health and wellness. Yes, I love looking good, and I love to be shredded, and aesthetically, there's a lot of mental and physical issues that go along with the way that I look and all the things that I do, and a lot of questions. With that, I also understand that letting go and really getting in tune with the season of life of who I am and how I'm doing things has made a huge difference. So I want to talk about that today. I'm calling this one Mind Trash. For whatever reason, I really like that. I've heard it multiple times from people. I think probably Joe Rogan had stated it. And physical clutter. So if you look at mind trash, like all that trash that's in your mind, all this stuff that we spend a lot of time just thinking about that really has no relevance towards our life or anything else, it can really impede the process of growth and health and just being present in the moment. And I am guilty about it all the time. So recognizing mind trash, and then really talking about the physical clutter. I know this is a favorite of my wife. I will say I am getting better. If anybody knows me, you would never know that I had a physical clutter problem. I don't know if it's a problem as opposed to a lot of other people out there of what they do have or what they don't have. But, when you look at physical clutter, we're talking about materialistic sort of things. We're talking about, in most cases, junk that we look at as individuals. We see that there's a value in it. Other people see it as junk. When you look at during the course of when I was going through inventory of my Star Wars figures of all things, right, I must have had 40 boxes, 45 boxes. I had them all inventoried. Every single figure had a place. They all had a series and a listing and a value and all those sorts of things and a picture, and they were all in a box. They were all in a box in my closet in the garage of the house, not being enjoyed, not just taking up room. And that, I really think, was the first step. I do believe my wife will agree, of letting go. I do believe that the process of collecting all that, quote unquote, what most people would see as junk, action figures, toys, this and that. What are you doing? You're a 40-something-year-old man. Why are you still playing with toys? Well, I wasn't really playing with them. I was just putting them in a box and collecting them, and not really enjoying them. So when it came to that area of being able to let go, there was almost a satisfaction and a relief of clearing that space and being able to take a deep breath and go, okay, now I don't have to worry about all that stuff. I don't have to worry about if I keel over tomorrow that my kids are going to look at this and go, what do we do with all this stuff, right? And I know a lot of me and a part of me has probably gotten these traits, I would say more or less through my mother. My mother is what I would say a borderline hoarder, right? And a mom, I love you if you're listening to this. But she has more handbags than probably the country of Japan, And she just, again, more jeans than probably Levi's has inside of their manufacturing plant. But my mom loves that stuff. And I think for her, it's more or less the thrill of going out, being in the moment, and finding those things and doing those things. And look, some of those jeans and some of those bags has been when she's been out shopping with my wife. And that's something enjoyable that she loves doing with my wife because she loves my wife and they're good friends. And so my mom is living in the moment of acquiring physical things, but really enjoying the moment too. So no discredit to that. I think that's wonderful. I think when it becomes one of these things that gets oversaturated with having too much of it is when you don't let go of it. So when you keep acquiring things such as jeans and handbags and whatever else is, lingering, and this can be for anything and anybody. It can be a dude that collects car parts, my stepdad, and parts that have no relevance to any of the cars that they have, but it's good to have those parts just in case you need a screw here or you need a cylinder there, right? Again, it's, no fault of theirs, but I can tell you that I learned probably a lot of that perspective. And I don't know what the emotional tie to it is for them, but there is an emotional tie to it for sure. Because I can tell you through my own quote unquote process of collecting things or keeping things. Give you an example. As a kid, I always loved concerts, right? I've kept all my ticket stubs ever since the first concert I went to, which was Lynyrd Skynyrd out in Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium. Then after that, it was U2, Rattle and Hum at Sun Devil Stadium. I remember the concerts like they were yesterday. I remember who I went with them to. I remember the days. And I remember the concert stub because I still have it in a drawer, along with hundreds of other concert stubs that, I guess for reminiscing and for an emotional value, it's kind of cool to look back. But again, those are in a drawer somewhere. I am going to pull those out and probably show those on a YouTube podcast that I'm going to do with that sort of stuff. So as I get older, I just start to wonder, like, how much of this stuff am I going to keep? How much of this physical stuff that really, quote unquote, matters doesn't matter? Like old notes that I used to pass around in high school, I still have. I have every probably birthday card, Thanksgiving card, all these things from my grandparents. Now, look, some of these things I will probably continue to hang on to until I die. It's really cool to look back, look at the handwriting of my grandmother or my grandfather, and know at that time and that date, which old people back then, they dated everything, which is awesome to have a date on that. So when I look back at something, from 89 through 97, when people actually wrote letters, it's cool to really look back at that and look back at that time and reminisce, because it's hard to remember all that stuff through our quote unquote, our memories, right? What memories do we have and that we don't have, and what can we read that can spark a memory? So I have a lot of that stuff. I have a lot of clay figures, other like little figures as when I was a kid, posters, stuff like that I don't know if I'm ready to get rid of quite yet. But the stuff that I am ready to get rid of and that I have been, and kudos to me because this has not been easy, are things like socks, shirts that I don't wear anymore. Like for whatever reason, there had always been books. There'd always been a need or a reason to hang on to these things that they got their use, right? It's time to trade it down. And I've also, by doing that, I've created a simplicity effect. I just made that term up, but believe it or not, I do believe there's some relevance in being very simple with things. So let's explain. So I know that I did a podcast on Essentialism a while back. If you haven't listened to it, I suggest definitely listen to it if you're looking for a way to simplify your life and do things. And this is a lot of what I teach when I do one-on-one coaching. Again, I am available for one-on-one coaching. I love it. So far, the clients that I have, it's resonating with them. They tell me what they get out of it. And then obviously we have the mastermind, and we're doing the mastermind coaching, Jeremy and I, which all of this is great. And as I talk to people, I find myself honestly coaching myself and seeing things that work for me. So back to essentialism, when I look at things that are essential, you have 24 hours in a day. How am I using that time? What am I using it for? Who am I spending it with? How am I feeling during those times? And getting into, the physical aspect of the 24 hours a day, am I utilizing that time to look for something to wear, match things, having so many choices. Again, having choices is great, but having so many choices is not so great. And you've heard it a million times, and you've seen it, and you know the old analogy, Steve Jobs wore blue jeans and a turtleneck. Why did he do that? Because it was just easy, right? It was one less choice that he had to make in a busy day for a brilliant mind and somebody like that. I am by no means no Steve Jobs. I am no Mark Zuckerberg. I am no genius, right? I'm just a average dude that sells insurance policies to people and loves humans and creates relationships. But I also love fitness. I love my family. I love my dogs. I love my kids. I love every aspect of being alive that I can. I guess we don't necessarily always have control over everything, but to where we have a certain aspect of a control. And so in order for me to spend time more with those people and those things, I want to be able to make choices quick, efficiently, and be happy with them. And there's nothing worse than having a bunch of clothes that they don't look good. They don't fit. You keep on to them. I mean, I had clothes with like holes in them on the side, just stuff that I wasn't willing to let go because for whatever reason, those clothes that I lived in my single life or my past had some sort of emotional attachment that I was not aware of, but I kept them. And it's just junk at the end of the day. So I do a lot of giving of that sort of stuff away. I know my brands. I know what works. It's just a lot more efficient. It's a lot more efficient even for business, knowing how you're going to show up, knowing how you feel. And look, suits are cool, right? I think if you wear a suit, you're awesome, right? Not my thing. I enjoy a nice suit, and would I get in one? But man, that's a lot of work every day. And I do think back in the the 50s and the 60s when it was that thing where you were like dressing up as a mobster all the time, and you had this professional evaluation. I think there was a lot to it. But now we live in this world. I believe in comfort and efficiency to just kind of get things done. And in order to do that, what do you feel comfortable in? What do you feel that you look good in that represents your individual self? And that's how I feel about it. So, getting rid of things, again, that don't resonate is perfect for me. And for me in the house with my wife, everything has its place, and not having too much stuff on the counter. I buy kitchen appliances like they're going out of style. I just love everything from waffle makers to blenders to hot tops to you name it, different pans, spoons, cups. I don't know why. I have an addiction to kitchen appliances, and I need to go seek counseling for that. And just this weekend, I had a waffle maker that I thought I was going to make hash browns in, right? And my wife told me, she absolutely told me, and she was absolutely correct. And I know she's listening to this right now, and she's probably laughing. And when she saw this thing in the garage, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Look, I'm going to make waffles in this. They're going to come out great as hash brown waffles because I just like hash brown waffles." She's like, "No, they're not. They're going to stick to that pan. It's going to burn, and you're going to end up throwing that thing away." Well, lo and behold, I utilized that this weekend, and every single thing that I just said absolutely happened. So I do feel that sometimes, even with kitchen appliances, you can go a little bit too far. Now, the mandolin, I'm not, nor is the dehumidifier. I always get it wrong. It's the dehydrator. Thank you, the dehydrator. Jicama chips, I'm telling you, it's a lot of work, but if you do it and you get it done right, that thing is worth keeping, although I do have to keep it out in the garage. My wife, she doesn't really collect much of anything. She would literally probably get rid of any and everything that, I had if I didn't live there, for sure. So it's all good, though. We love it. We have a lot of fun together with it, and she has taught me a lot about the declutterization of stuff and things and all that. And when you look at it, if you own your own business and you look inside your office, you look inside. If you're a restaurateur, you look inside your restaurant. Excuse me, drink of water. When you look inside your restaurant, what are you collecting? What are you keeping? Why are you keeping it? Is there an inventory list? I mean, office environment's the worst. Like with all this technology and computers and updates and all this sort of stuff, I go through monitors to mouses to headsets to cables to cords. I remember one time we had to go through and just go through our tech drawer, right? And it was so saturated with plugs and all sorts of stuff that I didn't even know what they went to anymore. I just gave it all to my computer guy and cleaned it out. And I have to tell you, there has to be like just a great satisfaction of that and a deep breath. And even looking at old files, when you look at paperwork, why are we holding on to checkbooks from 1990? I don't know. Like, does the IRS really care 35 years later? If they do, they had other problems, right? Or we have other problems. So it's really releasing and letting go of that sort of stuff. I think it's still like a 7-year model that you're supposed to keep stuff. I don't know if you're supposed to keep hard stuff anymore or if you can scan all that stuff, put it on the computer. But that's a lot of what I'm doing now because, again, as I get older and more into my 50s, I want to have less stuff to maintain. My time is getting shorter. The less time that I have to organize stuff or go find stuff or think of things, the less time I have to really enjoy life and go fishing and walk around the neighborhood and kiss my dogs and work out and eat good and make love to my wife, right? So that is just, when it comes to the physical aspect of clutter, a lot of what goes on. There was a statistic that I read that the average American home has 300,000 items. Think about that, 300,000 items. And 1 in 4 Americans have 2-car garages and don't even park in them. Next time you're walking down your neighborhood, and I do this a lot when I go for walks, if somebody has their garage open, don't necessarily be nosy. Don't walk up in it. But, if you're on the street, just kind of look over to the left, look over to the right, wherever you're going, and just look in the garage and notice how many people have so much stuff in their garage that they literally use it as a storage space and don't even park their cars in it. Now, guilty. I park my car outside on the driveway, but there is room for my wife's car, which is bigger. But the other half of my garage is a gym, and it's a really cool gym. So that's non-negotiable for my wife for sure, is stacking up boxes and putting stuff in there. And there's always a place and a need for everything in our house. And again, I'm so grateful for it. The other thing too is that mental clutter can also increase what they say cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and it can mess up sleep and again reduce focus and all that sort of stuff. And whether we feel it in the moment or not, I really do feel that there's a lot of relevancy to that. The hoarding disorder affects 2.6% of the population. If you think about it, that's like 1 million people that are hoarders, that are just collecting everything. Have you ever watched that show? It's really sad, quite honestly, but the hoarding show that's on the I don't if it's Netflix or Discovery Channel or one of those, but yeah, you look and you see what people do and what they're doing, and it's crazy. And if you even look at the self-storage industry in the U.S., it's worth over $44 billion. Think about this. You are paying somebody to keep stuff, right? It's like, so if you have a storage unit, no fault. Kim and I have a storage unit right now. It's a placement unit for stuff that we're bringing up to the tiny home. And we had one a while back that we were keeping other stuff in. So this is not judgment on whether you have a storage unit or not. But if you do, go there and really look at what's in there and why you're keeping it. And is there a purpose for it? And does it need to be there the next month or the next year or this and that? And do you even remember what's in there, quite honestly? Think about how many people pass away and have these storage units. And the kids, one of my best friends just passed away. He had 2 storage units, and his kids had to go clean it up. And they pulled out just so much stuff in there that I don't even think my friend even realized or knew that he still had. And it's a very sad situation. So we're basically living in an industrialized, nation that just produces more and more stuff. And I am so guilty of wanting stuff, and I'm just trying to pull back from that, both from work and both from, in person, and just really enjoying, life in that context. So let's get into mental clutter, or mind trash. Another glass of water here. So when we talk about mental clutter, to me, it's like all the things that are just in your head, and how many things we look at. Let's go to the obvious. Let's go to the phone. Let's go to the social media. Let's go to the news reports. Let's go to all these things that, your parents or if you are those parents, you're always like, God, what's the next thing to hit? It's almost like a dopamine hit. It's like, what is so-and-so doing now in the news? Or what have they have not done? Or how can we criticize this? Or how does this affect? And guilty as charged. I've followed all that stuff. It's almost like how do I say, not a sitcom, but one of those reality TV shows is Such is Life, right? And the minute that I pulled away, I had canceled my apps on my Twitter or X or whatever it's called. I canceled TikTok. I used to have another one that I canceled. I rarely, unless it's for educational purposes, rarely ever watch, YouTube. And I do check in on Instagram and LinkedIn quite a bit. I enjoy those, but just to kind of check in and then post, things about the podcast and the work and to create relevancy. But now, instead of watching TV with my wife and having that time at night together, again, and the TV, quite honestly, for us, it's trash TV. It's stuff that doesn't mean anything. It's not getting involved too much in the ways of the world. And it's not that I don't care. Of course I care. I want everybody to be good. I want everybody to be happy. But I just don't want to take on all of that energy and be completely stressed out and scared of everything, right? It'll parlay into my relationships and into who I am as a physical and mental being. So I have now made the choice to even leave my phone in my office at about my office in my room in my house at about 5 o'clock. We get done eating dinner. Well, actually, I put it in at probably around 4 because we eat dinner at 4. We're done eating dinner about 4:30. Kim goes in, she takes her bath. I play a little bit of guitar, or I walk around the yard and just piddle around. And then about 5:30, 6-ish, we're on the couch and we'll just watch trash TV, just things that are stupid that just release our mind. I watch a lot of gold digging. I love watching guys dig for gold. I just think it's cool. It's adventurous. I think I will be a gold digger one time. Not like that song, be a gold digger. No, like a real gold digger, like man gold digger that goes in. So we just enjoy that. And so my phone's in the other room, and I used to just scroll through like the endless social media to see what everybody was doing or what their thoughts were on this or that. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And quite honestly, I don't even remember what anybody thought like a month ago on a certain issue that's not even an issue anymore. And it's like, holy mind clutter, holy mind trash, of all these things that you hold on to. And then you go to bed holding on to that, and gosh only knows what goes on in your dreams and everything else. So, I just feel like meditation. I feel like journaling, if you can, before bed. I feel like reading something positive that's going to bring you some sort of added value that gets you excitement, or even like a story. Or I do like music biographies. I've read obviously a lot of Van Halen ones and Led Zeppelin ones, and just seeing, back then in the day how these people, how they ran, right? It's kind of fun. But I just think decluttering and taking the alerts off your phone and stepping away from that sort of thing and being more present in all moments, whether that's your dinner moments, that sitting on the couch, I know you're watching TV, but being present in the watching TV moment, being present in, we just talk about all the time. Again, there's a time and place for all the other things, but I have found a lot of value in really just getting rid of mind trash and just emptying it out. It's almost like when you go to the computer and you go to that little trash bucket and you see all this stuff that's all built up in there. And it's like, would you like to empty trash, right? And you empty it and it goes, right? And then all of a sudden there's nothing in there. I know it sounds silly, but it's like, that feels good. And I really feel it's that easy for us as human beings as well. So, as we get older, I think it's good to figure out ways to limit our inputs, whether that's TV, the news, the social. I do think living in some sort of silence at times, whether you're driving to somewhere and you're just driving in silence. I know my boy, Jeremy Scott, he talks about it. First of all, he's a weirdo, okay? He listens to Halloween when he works out, like the soundtrack, like the Jason soundtrack, and he drives in silence. He doesn't. I think he had like an old old Civic or Honda or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but the car was it was a piece of crap, and he loved it, and I loved it. It was a great car. He must have had hundreds of thousands of miles on it. I don't even think it had a radio or air conditioning, and he would just drive to and from work in silence. And I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I think taking some of those moments of silence for yourself and just living within the thoughts that go around, and maybe educating yourself about what you feel and how you feel and what those thoughts are, but also remembering that you are not your thoughts. They are just thoughts. So there's a lot of stuff that goes along with that. And I think movement is huge too. Believe it or not, movement's going to help clear a lot of the mind trash as well, because if we're not moving, we're still, and when we're still, all that stuff's building up, and it allows us so much time to think, and if we're thinking about things that were not necessarily resonating with us, we can get very fixated on that stuff, and that cannot be good. So if we're moving and we're feeling this physical sensation and we're feeling good about it, then yes, we're going to have thoughts, but not so much of the fixation, because we got to concentrate on what we're doing within the movement as well. And I think that works, very good too. I just find fewer distractions equal more peace. Think about if you go fishing, right? I don't know if any of you are fishers. I would suggest go fishing if you get a chance, and just be out there with your pole and your worm, throw it out there and just sit. And just sit and don't listen to anything. Don't have anything on you. Just wait for the fish to bite, right? It's like a game of fish and human, and it's great. And when that fish bites and you're pulling it in, and when it doesn't bite and you're sitting there and you're waiting, you're there with your thoughts and you're out there in nature and you're just enjoying it. I really think that is another way to really declutter your mind and to live in nature. Some people even tell me golf is a good way to do it as well. I just get so anxious, and I like to win, so that's a problem for me. I hope that you've gotten a little bit out of this podcast. Again, there's so much in life when it comes to clutter, and there's so much in life when it comes to just how do we deal with clutter? How do we let it go? And remember, you don't have to let go of everything right away. It's not like somebody's asking you to, come in and just throw all of your stuff out. It's one of those things that I just think is the transgression of life. And I even look at my son, who's 24. He does like stuff. He likes cool stuff, but he's not into keeping things. And I have to recognize and realize when I get older, they probably don't want my old T-shirt that says I won Metcon back in, 2021, right? Maybe that was special to me, and it was one of those things that in the moment's very cool. But why would I keep that for my kid, to take when he's, however old he is when I pass? Doesn't make... the kids nowadays, maybe not your kid, maybe, but I can tell you my kids, they just don't want all this stuff. They'll take money, trust me. They'll take money and they'll take your house, but they don't want your clothes. They don't want your old china from your, first or second wedding. They really don't want much of anything. They don't even want their own stuff except for the stuff that they need to live off of and do off of. And I can say that I have seen a minimalistic movement in my son and his friends. I even look in at, my son works with me, and I even look in his office over here, and he's got like 3 things in it, a picture of his girlfriend, some sort of statue that was given to him by his grandma, on his computer, right? Not much else. Oh, a picture of his mom too. But that's the thing. You come in my office, I've got all sorts of, things that I've acquired over time. And as I get, into this phase of my life, I'm actually going through the office here and just cleaning stuff out. I just want things simple, efficient. I want them to work well. And I don't care where you work or what you do for a living. This, in my opinion, having less to think about, less to deal with, less to move, less to, try to track, I just think it creates a better relationship with you and all of those around you. And again, this may not resonate for people. Maybe you just like all of your stuff and it's there and you're just like, you know what, when I croak, it's just going to be here and they can figure it out. And you know what? You're right. I mean, when you're dead, you're dead. I mean, nobody, you don't care. I just, nobody's like, nobody's waking you up from the dead saying, hey, what do you want me to do with this stuff? You just don't care. And for some people, they're happy with all the stuff that they have, and they're going to live out their life being happy and doing that sort of thing. So again, to each their own, it is what it is, but that is what I wanted to talk about today, mind trash and physical clutter. So thank you again for listening. If you get a chance, please share this podcast. Please give it a 5-star. I would love it. I would appreciate it. We will have in our notes about the Built Different Mastermind, we'll have the Delo link of all the things that I'm doing. I sell insurance. I sell a lot of it. I love to sell life insurance and health insurance and hospitality insurance, and we do home and auto and all those sorts of things. And I have a lot of great, let's just say, business partners that have other services that align with what we do. So please reach out for any connections, any advice. And until then, have a great day and peace out.